Hi, I'm Lee Iridium. Hope you're doing all right today. So, album review time. One of the most anticipated albums for this year. The new album by Helloween, self-titled album. So, yeah, there's been a lot of buzz around this album. And I can tell actually when I've done reactions to the free songs that have been released so far, the amount of views that I get compared to other views, well, it's mental. You get at least 10 times the amount because there's a lot of Helloween fans out there that have been waiting for this because, well, a few reasons. It's the return of Michael Kiske. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's probably Kiske. So I've been, I will be reminded of how to say things correctly, I'm sure, in the comments below. And Kai Hansen's in there as well. And what you got the Pumpkins tour a few years ago that introduced all the guys back together, and then they decided to make this album. And I must say, it was a great decision. Whether it's going to carry on with all the members, I don't know the future of Helloween. But let me tell you a bit of my past with Helloween, my experience with them as a band. So obviously I'm old, so I was around when the first albums came out. I got into them with the Keeper albums, Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 1 and 2. And then I completely left the band. I don't know why. I was young, got into other stuff. It's still into metal, but as far as Helloween was concerned, left the band. So my experience with them is those two albums. Fast forward all these years, doing the channel, one of the biggest albums to come out, I need to review it. So I've loved the 3 singles so far. I think they just hark back. And a lot of that is to do, I think, with, obviously, as soon as you hear Michael Kiske's voice, it's just so distinct and so much character. You just know it's him straight away. So I think that helps with the Helloween sound, if you like. So the version that I've got is 1 hour and 13 minutes long, 2 bonus tracks. And I think, sometimes I go on about albums that are too long. I think in this case, I think the wait and anticipation from the fans, I think it's a good thing because it gives you all that music from something you've been missing with Michael Kiske being back in the band, if you like. So 35 years this band have been actually going. And this album is released today, 18th of June, on Nuclear Blast Records. So there's sort of 2 sides to Helloween. One that I love and one that I think is okay, but I can't take too much of. And that's the bit that I can't take too much of is the cheesiness side of Helloween. Sometimes the really fast songs and the cheese to go along with it is not my cup of tea. Although I think they did it really well back on those first 2 albums. The other side is the more straightforward metal side, which I absolutely love. We're talking, if you go back and listen to some of those albums, those Keeper albums, A Little Time, the track Helloween, they were just outstanding songs. And I suppose it was just it's sort of, for me, I sort of related to that sort of music a little bit more. So at first I was a bit worried about this album, thinking they're going to be too much speedy, sort of cheesy, sort of power metal. I'm happy to say that there's not. There's something for everyone on this album, actually. So not just for Helloween fans, I think for metal fans in general. You've got so much music here and so much of it appeals to me. It mainly goes towards that darker side, if you like. But there are still some moments of that sort of power metal, because they are a power metal band, where it just borders on that sort of happy sort of cheesy sound, but doesn't quite always go there, which is a great thing for me. They've got a lot of humour still, the band, but not as much as I thought they would on this album. I really thought they would play up the humour on this album, but they seem to have gone for the humour on the Keeper 1 album for me. Keeper 2 was sort of getting that, they sort of went more for the humour side. But this seems more serious, a bit of a darker album for me anyway. And remember, I'm not a professional on Helloween, so I'm just judging this from what I've heard in the past. You could say they was a progressive band. I'm not saying they're a total progressive metal band. You know, they're not blimmin' Tool or anything like that, but they're so clever with their guitar work. Well, all their musical ability is very clear. Or the whole band are just so talented. Where there's so many twists and turns in nearly every song that you could say it's a little bit progressive. There's some odd time signatures. There's so much light and shade where it goes lighter, darker, it goes into like heavier stuff, then it slows down. There's so many instruments, so much guitar work, you could say it's a bit progressive for sure. Huge choruses throughout. Some of the biggest choruses you will hear for years to come. You know, and I was talking to someone the other day about how hard it is to write a chorus now. It was on with Dominic and Jam on another program that I do, and saying that how hard it is to come up with an original chorus that's catchy, that lifts. You know, for all these years and years of metal, songwriting's one of the hardest things to do. And these guys smash the choruses all the way through this album, I must say. The choruses are fantastic. Amazing, absolutely amazing, really impressed. So like I said, a lot of variation on this album. I'm going to go through it track by track, so it's going to be a little bit of an extensive review. But we've waited, you know, to hear this band together with these members. I'm sure we can put up with that. So let's just go through the members quickly. We've got Danny Lobel on the drums, does a brilliant job throughout. Obviously a band like Helloween who do all those time changes, fast to slow, especially the fast stuff. This guy is amazing, along with Marcus Gronskoff, bass guitarist. These two guys, you know, have to be spot on when you're dealing with three guitarists, amazing guitarists especially. They've just got to lay the foundations and make sure they're just as tight as possible, and they do a brilliant job, them two guys. Then you've got the free guitar attack now. So you've got Kai Hansen, Michael Weekath, and Sasha Gertzner. I hope I'm pronouncing all that right. It's got on the description I have that it's two rhythm guitarists and a lead guitarist, with Michael Weekath being the lead guitarist. But man, there's just lead guitars all over the place from all three of them. I'm sure it is anyway. I don't think there's one lead guitarist, because there's twin leads and they switch in and out, all three guitarists. So as far as I'm concerned, there's three guitarists on this album, lead guitarists. Of course, Michael Kiske, you know, just whatever it is, you know what I'm talking about, on the vocals. Big return after all those years away. He hasn't missed a beat. He really hasn't. You can tell he's sort of holding back a bit, and why shouldn't he? I don't know how old he is now. He's probably 50 odd years old. But he's still got that amazing tone, that so much character in his voice, still hits some real cool high notes. Really good to hear him after all these years, although he's done a lot of side projects, I know, and solo stuff. And Andy Derris on the vocals. So obviously where I left Helloween, didn't know anything about Andy Derris, and I must say he does a great job. He's got that more, so where Kiske's got that more sort of smoother sort of tone, Derris has got a more aggressive tone. And of course you've got Kai Hansen as well, who also does some vocals as well. So he's my least favourite vocalist, Kai Hansen. But the mixture of all three is pretty clever. I'm not a multi-vocalist person. You know, you get some of these guitarists that bring solo albums out and they just ram their album full of vocalists. I'm not a fan of that. But this album really works. I think it does it a great, and I hope this carries on this, you know, lineup. I really do. I don't know if it will or not, but I think it's a great move, and I hope it carries on for years to come for Helloween. So, kicking off the album, Out for Glory, 7 minutes and 18 seconds. So this is a fast song, as you expect to kick off the album. A minute intro, then into that familiar speedy power metal that Helloween are known for. You know, some amazing riffing throughout, and I've got to say the guitar work on this album, I'm going to mention it lots of times, but let's just get it right off the bat. It's amazing. It flicks in and out of lead guitars, each of them. Then it goes into twin lead parts, breaks off into those, then back in again. Rhythm guitaring is just mental. I love the way the solos come in and out of the melody of the songs as well. It does it on this one, where it play a little bit of the melody of the song, then go back into the solo. Helloween are known for that. You know, what I know of them on those first two albums. Quite progressive in nature, this song, because of the twists and turns. Even a little narration part near the end. So yeah, they do really mix it up. Good song to kick it off with. Fear of the Fallen is next. This was a single. I love this track. Acoustic and vocal beginning. Yet again, amazing intricate guitar work throughout this song. Quite progressive again. So many twists and turns. Extensive guitar solos. And that's nearly on every song here. Real catchy chorus. But like I said, not cheesy. That's the main thing for me. That's what makes it a great song. Next up is Best Time. Bit of a shorter song. Just 3.5 minutes. Nice tempo. Slows down a bit. Has that sort of I want out sort of feel for it, but that bass and the vocal sort of running alongside each other. Very catchy chorus again. Different vocal styles work well in this song, and they do on certain songs they work better than others. But this is it's a great example of how the vocalists work together. Next up, we've got Mass Pollution. One of my favourite songs, actually. A great heavy riff kicking off, great aggressive vocal from Derris in the verses, and then another great chorus. A really cool riff change before the solos, like tempo changes a little bit. My favourite song so far. Great song, Mass Pollution. Next up is Angels. Another one of my favourites. Love Kiski's tone on this. Sounds effortless. The way he sings, it just sounds effortless. Like he's not even trying, but it's so great. Great heavy, simpler riffing. It's sort of a bit more simple in this in the verses. And it brings that heaviness to the song. This song has lots of different sort of twists and turns. Again, short piano parts even. Different tempo changes, giving it a real epic feel. It's only 4.5 minutes, just over 4.5 minutes long, but it sounds like it should be a song that's like 10 minutes long. It's great. Great chorus. The way it goes into that first part of it, sort of slowing down and giving it that real sort of, you can imagine this song in a live situation, like a real fist-pumping festival song. Next up is Rise Without Chains. So distinctive, speedier Helloween sound is back for this one. A great effective odd time signature in the chorus. Effective chorus as well. Not quite hitting the cheesy part, which is good. I mean, they're bordering on it sometimes, but don't quite do it. One of my favourite songs is next as well, Indestructible. This was a B-side, I think, for Skyfall. Great song. Some of the heaviest riffing so far on the album. Simple but very effective chorus. If this is played live, I think it'd be a very cool song as well. I love the twin lead breaks and some amazing guitar solos throughout that song. A brilliant song, and I think it came on the internet. It kept being come off, and the band was stopping it and all that. But it was a B-side, so I don't really understand that. It was available to the fans, but a really strong B-side, I must say. A great song. Next up is Robot King. A bit of a longer song, 7 minutes. Fast, heavy riffing kicking off, quite thrashy. Especially for the parts where Derris is singing aggressively as well with those thrashy riffs. Bit of a power metal pre-chorus. Not going for the cheese too much. Just like hinting at it, if you like, in that typical Helloween feel. But the chorus is nice and heavy. Some amazing guitar trickery in the solos. The guitar part near the end where the song slows down from the speedy feel is great. I mean, they do this so much, like the twists and turns, and they slow the song down. It's never simple all the way through, which is good. It's just this is going to be an album that's going to be for months and years to come, which will grow and grow and grow because there's so much going on this album. Next up is Cyanide. So this is one of my, again, a favourite track of mine. Just a short 3.5 minute, more of a straightforward metal song, this one. Great bass rumble, like in the mix of the song. The production's great. Great chorus again. A great song. Really great song. Cyanide is definitely one of the top songs for me on this album. Down in the Dumps is next. Probably not one of my favourites. A brilliant galloping riff though, kicking off. Again, goes into that speedy metal feel. Was kind of hoping that gallop, that slower gallop, was going to stay throughout the song, but it just comes in and out now and again. Nice heavy chorus though. Before we go into a little instrumental called Orbit, and this is like the instrumental intro for the next song, which is the epic Skyfall. So the first release we heard from this album. This is obviously the 12-minute, 11-second version. I reacted to the short version, which I love, by the way, but I didn't hear this song. I know it was available, I think, to hear the long version, but I like to wait for the album to be released and then listen to the album in full rather than keep hearing the singles. And that's what I'd done with all of these songs. All I did was react to them all three of them. I only heard them once, and obviously while editing the video, but thought I'd wait and hear the album as a whole because it gives me a better experience of the album. And Skyfall is an amazing, epic track. So after a short little vocal from Keyski, it goes into a great galloping fast riff. That's one of my favourite riffs when it goes into the actual verses. And then the vocalists trade off. You get a verse from Keyski, you get a verse from Deris, and then also you get Kai Hansen coming in as well. I think this is the song where the three vocalists really shine, where it's used, where all three are used, and it's really outstanding on this song. Great extensive solos throughout, as you expect on a 12-minute, 11-second Helloween song. Guitar melodies throughout, as you would expect, orchestral parts, such a catchy chorus for such an epic song. You know, sometimes when you get a real long song, you don't get that chorus to go with it. They give you it for sure. I love the way that this isn't, even though it's got that length for the song and the epicness, I love the way it didn't try and take anything, like try and copy, if you like, Helloween or Keeper of the Seven Keys song. It's got its own feel, more of a modern feel. I'm glad it did something totally different. It's not something you could compare really and say, oh yeah, it's not as good, because it's totally different. They do a great job on Skyfall. And that ends the album, actually, the album proper. But then you get, I heard a couple of bonus tracks. The first one is Golden Times. I can understand why this didn't reach the album. I think it's okay. It's a pure fast power metal song, but it's very, you know what I mean, it doesn't, Helloween throughout the album give you something more than what you'd expect after all these years. They give you something extra, but this song is something you would think that a 35-year-old band would sound like. You know, maybe it's not their strongest, but where they sort of surprised me throughout, this one really didn't. The chorus, not so good, but the guitar trickery throughout is just amazing. I mean, they've got some of the best guitarists in the world in this band. But the next bonus track is just one of my favourite tracks altogether. I think it would have fit great on the album, but I can understand there's too many tracks. But love the chorus. It's called Save My Hide. I just saved my hide! It's just one of the most catchiest songs they've done, but not again in a cheesy way. It really lifts this song. It's got sort of subdued verses, and so when it goes into those choruses, it just makes it something really special. This is a brilliant, brilliant song. One of the best songs on the album, without a doubt, even though it's not on the album proper. It's a bonus track. More straightforward for Helloween, obviously, but Save My Hide. Man, what a great song to finish off with. Absolutely superb. So my overall view of the album is absolutely brilliant. I'm surprised, I'm shocked at how good it is, to tell you the truth. Like I said, all these years away, I'm not a Helloween expert by far, and there'll be some guys watching this video that will be, who will probably point out how good they've been. since Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 2. But I just haven't followed them, you know, like many bands. Like many bands, I haven't followed them. But yeah, maybe I will, maybe I'll go back. But I am looking forward to new music, wondering what they're going to do next. It's a great album. And like I said, this is a grower as well. It's got so much going on on this album. For an album that's got so much going on, it feels so progressive as well. It's amazing how catchy it is. And you know, we miss that sometimes in music now, don't we? The catchiness of music. But this is, if you're into those Helloween, if you're into Helloween, you're probably going to have it anyway. If you're like me and you left the band and you're not sure, I'd definitely recommend this album. It gives you those feels that the Keeper albums gave you. Mainly probably because of Kiski's voice, but it brings a modern edge to it as well. So complex, but catchy at the same time. That's what you need. That's what you need. That's what metal should be about. Thanks very much for listening. What do you think of this new album? I'm sure it's going to be one of the biggest hits of the year for metal fans, for sure. Like I said, the way my views are when I post anything Helloween, I can guarantee this is going to do well. Hopefully the band sell well on this album. I know it's difficult these days, but main thing, they'll get out there again and tour. I wouldn't mind going to see a Helloween gig actually. So there you go. Thank you very much for listening. I'll see you next time.